What's up, y'all? What's good? Welcome to the What Up Dope Show. It's your boy Dame D, and I am back with another one. We're going to be having an interesting conversation today. I'm going to wait for a few people to join in. I sent links out to a few people today, and we are simultaneously broadcasting on YouTube and Facebook, and maybe Instagram too, I believe. So, like I said, I'm just okay. So yeah, it is Facebook and YouTube. So I'm just waiting on a few people that I sent invites to, and then we're going to start today's show. We're going to be talking about how blacks are treated, and how blacks are treated differently than whites when encountered by the police. And that's today's topic. And I'm gonna put that in the actual in the banner so that can go across the screen. So you know what? No, I'm gonna take that out. Yeah, I don't like how that looks. I'm gonna take that out. But yeah, the comments section is definitely open. I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what you guys think about today's topic. Like I said, we're going to be discussing how blacks are treated differently than whites were encountered by the police. We have I have audio and video that I want to play of a message that was left by you know uh, uh, a great, maybe a chief of police, but someone by a law enforcement officer, I should say. So I'm just going to wait for a few people to join, and then we'll actually start the show. Like I said, I sent out invites to a few people, so I'm just going to monologue until a few people jump in and join in until my guest that I invited to the show join the show. So how's everybody's Saturday been going? My Saturday's kind of been up and down. I'm dealing with a pinched nerve. I don't know if you guys ever had to deal with a pinched nerve, but it's very painful. It hurts a lot. I haven't really been getting no sleep. The last really month or so. So, but let me make sure that my audio and everything can be heard. So, give me 1 second. Really a month or so. So, but let me make sure that my audio. Okay, I can. We can definitely be heard. So, yeah, like I said, I just want to wait for a few people to jump in and join in, and then I want to see if my guests that I sent invites out to are going to come in and join us. So, I sent people invites out to. We have people watching us live on Facebook, and we are live on YouTube as of right now. So, I have a few people watching. Like I said, I have guests that should be joining us shortly. We're going to be discussing today's topic: how blacks are treated differently than whites when encountered by the police. I think that's an excellent conversation, a great topic to discuss. So I'm just waiting on my guest to join me. And we'll go on ahead and start. Like I said, I have audio and video of this one clip that I want to play, and then we'll go on ahead and get tonight's discussion started. But the comment section is definitely open. I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Tell me your thoughts, about today's subject. How your Saturday been going. But like I said, the comment section is definitely open. So get in there and discuss this topic with me, chop it up with your boy. So and then you guys got to bear with me tonight. I'm trying out a new setup that I have that I've added to the podcast. So I'm just trying to, I'm working this and using this on the fly. So yeah, but and I'll just kind of start it up without everybody jumping in. How we are all how you have probably been in situations where you've been probably pulled over by the police or stopped by the police, or just were in a situation and were encountered by the police, and you were totally treated differently than your counterpart would be for a simple situation. You know what I mean? So you have to understand what the police are, what their mission are, and what they're set out to do, especially in the black community. And I'm not going to say all police, all cops are not bad, but they all follow the orders coming from above, I should say. So, like I said, I sent out invites earlier for people to come and join the show. So I'm just waiting on my guests to come and join. I have, like I said, I have YouTube and Facebook. The people that I sent invites out to. So I'm just waiting on a few people to join. Make sure Facebook that I'm live over there and you guys can hear me. Okay, so we are live over there too. Yeah, and it's the indifferences that the police when they approach African American. Okay, and that's a different title from what I have, but it's pretty much still the same thing. I have the indifferences that the police show when they approach African Americans versus Caucasians. So it's pretty much the similar titles, but I just switched it up a little bit. But yeah, I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me your encounters. That you have had. When being encountered by the police. So like I said, I'm just waiting on my guests to join the show. And I'll start up with this video and we'll go from there. So, but the comment section is open. I need for you guys to comment, tell me what how your encounters have been, with the police. But let me go back over to YouTube to see if I can see the comments coming in through that way. I cannot see them coming in over here, so we don't have any comments coming in yet. But if you are not subscribed to the channel, please make sure you go over there and hit that subscribe button, once you come in or before you leave out. And I'm going to put a little bit of background music on while we waiting on while we wait. So like I said, I'm just trying out software that I'm working with today. So okay, so that's the volume on that. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about today's topic. Let me know about your encounters, your dealings that you have had, with law enforcement and how you were treated differently, than your counterparts. So like I said, I have a few guests that supposedly will be joining us shortly. Sent out multiple links for tonight's show. So I just want to have a good dialogue and a good conversation with you guys tonight. And those who are watching, if you are not subscribed to the channel, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel grow, and we are close to a lot of our goals over here. I'm trying to implement a lot of new things to the podcast. But it only works if, everyone is doing their job, by hitting that like and make sure you're sharing the content. But yeah, I have a few stories that I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to tell, about my encounters when dealing with law enforcement. It's Saturday night. How's everybody's night been going? Hopefully everybody's been safe. Hopefully it's been a good night for everybody. Everybody made it home safe. That's what it's all about. A lot of my, I know a lot of my coworkers are probably just now getting off or getting ready to get off. So, probably was a long night. Okay, I see I have a comment. Let me go to the comment section. What up, Q Nitty? Q Nitty in the house. That's what's up, my baby. Where you checking in from? YouTube or okay, I see you checking in from Facebook. What's good, my dog? Okay, so Q, tell me about your encounters, how you were treated differently, or just indifferently than your counterparts. Tell me a situation, and you just had a situation, but you don't have to speak about that. But tell me about your encounters that you have had with the police that you thought that they was on some bullshit, and treated you indifferently. So like I said, I'm just waiting on a few people. Q, if you want to come in, I can actually send you a link. I can now have multiple people come in. So if you want me to come in, if you want to come in, let me know, and I will send you a link, and you can actually come in and be live with me on the show right now. You have to just like I said, let me know. Send me your email. Yeah, but let me know if you guys can. I want to make sure. Let me go back and check too to hear this volume. Month or so, but let me make sure that my audio. Okay, we can definitely be. Okay, well, I won't mess with that. But yeah, it definitely should be a good conversation, once everybody join in, but if not, I'm still gonna go ahead and do my thing and talk about it. I'm just waiting for a few people that I sent links out to join in. We got Q Nitty, we got Quincy Jackson in the house chatting with, excuse me, my mouth is a little dry. I mean, my throat a little dry. So, but we got Q Nitty in the house. What up, though, Q Dog? What you think about that game the other day, man? That was a good game down to the end, man. What them Lions gonna do, and I forgot to actually talk about that, but we definitely gonna get on that. Bright and early tomorrow, we're gonna talk about them Lions. What them Lions gonna do? It's definitely gonna be going down. We got them Green Bay Packers coming into town. They got your boy Michael Parsons. I don't know. I have not looked at the injury report to see if he was going to be playing, because I know he had some back issues going on, but they said that they were going to be giving him some not cortisone shots, but epidural shots. So hopefully he should be able to play, hopefully for Green Bay, but if not, Jahmyr Gibbs, and the boys is going to have a field day out there tomorrow, but yeah, like I said, I want to, wait for a few people to come in. We started up at 11:30, so it's been 14 minutes. So I'm still waiting on my guests to come in. But while I'm waiting on the guests, I'm just gonna go ahead and get the show started up. Bear with me for a second. I have a few videos I have one video that I want to play, just to put the mindset, to give you guys the mindset of how the police think, when they encounter us, and then we'll just go ahead and start off with the show. And then once people start to come in, I'll start bringing people in. But here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and bring this video up that I had queued up for you guys. So give me 1 second. Hold on, let me turn this background music off. Okay, I'm gonna pause it. Okay, here we go. So let me okay. My bad, guys. All right, so I'm about to share my screen with you guys so you can see and start playing this video, and we're gonna go ahead and get it started. So here we go. Okay, here's a video that I want you guys to check out, that and this is the mindset of white folks, law enforcement when dealing with blacks. Here we go.
It not only was not professional, it was not human. About a week later, another incident occurred, and I used more force than I needed. After the guy was handcuffed, I grabbed him, I pushed him up against the wall, and I said, "Don't you dare say that to me again. Do you understand?" And I realized this is a disease I'm starting to develop.
The hunt for black people, as he calls it, is part of a racist system that he condemns today. The first thing he denounces is the quota of arrest imposed on U.S. police in many large cities. This race for numbers pushes them to stop black people for no reason.
I just want to bring this video and quotas show you the mindset,
for no reason.
And where this shit comes from.
Minorities have no one to call if they're wrongly arrested. The white person will call their local political committee man or person. They'll call the parents, perhaps, of a teenager, will call the local politician. "Yo, what's going on here? My child was arrested just because he didn't have his license. Why didn't you just tell him to go home and get his license?" And things like, so the white person has more power. Black people have no connection to the people in power. So there's not going to be any blowback on arresting a minority because they don't have any power to complain.
And African Americans are not only unjustly arrested, they are not treated with the same respect as white people are.
If you stop somebody from going through a light, you would say, hey, out of your car, out of your car. Show me ID. You wouldn't say that. To a white person, you would go up and say, may I see your driver's license, please? And blacks know that. Blacks know when you go up and say, hey, out of your car now. And then they say, well, what did I do? Oh, what did I do? Don't say that. Don't ask me why I'm stopping you. I said, get out of the car. And that's right there, your first disrespect. And I saw that happening, and blacks know it's happening. They know it's not happening to white people. So automatically they start resenting the police just from little verbal commands, let alone the physicality of grabbing somebody and putting them in handcuffs while you check their ID. Unfortunately, when I would tell other officers, whoa, that's enough. Then they would think, hey, what are you? N for the word. What are you, an N lover?
Since he retired, he campaigns openly against the racist behavior of the police. The former officer has even made a very explicit sign.
I'm asking police, end open season. Stop shooting black men just like they're some kind of animal.
They wouldn't do that with a white?
No.
Why?
They have, they devalue the black man. The black man is, well, let's put it this way. In driving down a street in Philadelphia on a hot Friday night in August, I was with a partner. And of course, hot August night in Philadelphia, a lot of these people don't have air conditioning, and they're outside.
And if you got to like, comment,
so a lot of people
subscribe,
outside on
the
the steps in the street. And as we're riding down, my partner says, wow, the roaches are out tonight.
Wow. Okay, so, and that was it. So I'm going to go ahead and come out. I'm going to stop that and go ahead and come out. Okay, so yeah, and that was just a clip that I wanted to show you the mindset and what these law enforcement officers think about us and how the mindset that they have when they approach us. So that's why most of the time when we get pulled over, it's for a quota. We are pretty much we generate a lot of money, for the economy, for this society, and I just, and that's the truth, you can't get around that, like he even said, it's quotas that they put out against us, that they go out, and pretty much like sharks out there on the road, trying to get their quotas. Those are the injustices that we get, on a daily basis that, that I'm going to say our white counterparts doesn't pretty much have to worry about, as much as we do, and this is in the inner city. We have our counterparts, Caucasians, out there, on the streets, pulling us over, almost every day, all day for no reasons. And they're not out, in the suburbs, doing that to their own people, So, I just want to talk about the indifferences, like when you get pulled over for, simple things that, simple traffic citations that, your counterparts may get a warning, but you're definitely going to get a ticket, most of the time, so like I said, I was just waiting on a few people to join in. I sent out a lot of invites to come in and join this conversation. It's definitely a good conversation to have. I just wanted to play that clip so you guys can get a taste of, and that was just from a few years, some years ago. The quota against us is, pull over as many blacks as you can. Like I said, we generate a lot of money for the state, for these states, to be able to, pay their salaries, you know what I mean? So, we talked about quotas, we talked about how blacks generate money for the economy, and that's just on a daily basis dealing with the prison system, it's a quota, traffic stops leads to a lot of arrests, and a lot of arrests leads to, a lot of the people, men and women going to prison, you know what I mean? So it's a continued cycle, that generates money, for our counterparts, because we had a discussion about this not too long ago. They have created jobs for everything that we do negatively, I should say. You know what I mean? So that's one thing that's always going to be that we got to look out for, that we're always going to be treated indifferent for, is just they're always looking for a way to keep, not just their people, but especially the black man locked up and in prison and in jail, because it's going to generate money for the lawyers, for the judges, for the prosecutors, everyone in the criminal justice system, from the POs to the COs, like I said, we've done a show about this, everything that, that we've done negatively, they've created jobs for their own people to be able to oversee us, and pretty much it's kind of like nothing has never changed, over time, like just far as like how they oversee us, and it's been the same way since it's been, in existence, you know what I mean? They've created, a system where they capitalize on our mistakes, we just did a show on that last night. Me and LaShawna, I was waiting on her. I sent her a link to be able to come in too, and this was kind of, stemming from the conversation that we had last night. You know what I mean? But, and we talked about that, we talked about like how a lot of the youth that we see are coming from single households, and I'm not going to say single mothers. I'll just say single household, and a lot of those kids that's coming from those situations are, on a one-way course to, to these prisons, that they love to keep filled up, full with black men. You know what I mean? So like I said, I just want to have a good conversation and just chop it up with you guys and talk about this for a second, but like I said, you guys give me your comment. Let me know what you think about this conversation. You can join in at any time. The chat is definitely open. So I'm welcome to comments. Make sure that you definitely your comment. Q Nitty made a comment. And let me check the comments to see if anyone else said anything else. But yeah, and let me look up some more stuff. And then just like the man said in the video, we have no power to complain. When a white person is pulled over and they're treated injusticely, I should say, they can call their local congressman or senator and complain, why did you pull Jimmy over, for not having his license? He could have just went home and got him. The whole thing is, and that's what they do for our counterparts. For us, you're going to get a ticket. You're going to have to go to court, and prove that you had license. You know what I mean? So those are the indifferences. When you see white officers sitting in a hood, they're doing nothing more than patrolling, the community to see what person that they can lock up or what person that they can put in the system to be able to generate money. Like I said, at the end of the day, black people are nothing more than a way to generate, money for this law system, and that's it. We generate money for this economy, I should say. Whether it's a positive thing or it's a negative thing. And what I mean is a positive thing. We spend our money willingly, to these businesses that really doesn't want our money. They want our money, but they don't too much care for us as a person, I should say. They'll take our money, but how they really feel about us, at the end of the day, so I just want to, talk about that for a little bit. I want a few people to come on in. I sent out links for everybody to come in. So I'm just waiting on a few people to join in that never joined in, but like I said, we still gonna talk about it. We're gonna chop it up. But yeah, I need for you guys to tell me about your encounters, your unjustified encounter with the police. How were you treated? Do you think you were treated indifferently? Do you think you are treated fairly, amongst the police, the same as your counterpart, I should say? And that's just like, and I'll give you a situation. You can be broke down, in the middle of the road. The police will, and this is a black person, and I've encountered this. They will pull you. I mean, they will pull up, versus asking you, like what's wrong, or they'll try to come up and ask you, what's the problem. But at the end of the day, what they really want to do is, ask you for your name and your ID, so they can run your name, to see if you have warrants or anything. That's their main quota, just to be able to, and that's why they always, the first thing that they do when they pull you over, or encounter you, is ask you for your ID, so they can be able to run your ID to see if you have warrants or anything. You know what I mean? So they can be able to lock you up to generate money, because like I said, at the end of the day, black folks are nothing more than, economic, money, for this law system. We feed this economy, we feed the justice system. Yeah. And we definitely are treated unequal, and I don't know why we would think any differently. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're trying to keep their foots on our neck, because at one point, we rule, so you got to ask yourself that question: why do we feel like we're going to be treated, equal as our counterparts, when we know, what's been going on since the beginning of time. So I just want to show, a few indifferences. I just want to show that video and just show you, the mindset of these police officers when they're encountering you, what they talk about before they actually go out, and start doing their patrolling. They have quotas, they're looking, to pull people over. They're looking to, start situations, to escalate situations, to be able to lock your ass up, or, and then at the end of the day, and I haven't even talked about the unjustified murders, that's been going on, throughout the country, especially in Cincinnati. Let's talk about the Cincinnati, the unjustified, arrests that were going on with that Cincinnati brawl. You had over maybe 6 to 8 black folks that was arrested in that Cincinnati brawl, and they just now, maybe a few weeks ago, arrested the actual white man who actually started the whole brawl with the smacking of the black man, and then when they charged him, they didn't even charge him with assault. They charged him with a simple misdemeanor. I can't think of the exact charge, but that's definitely a great example of how, whites and blacks are treated, indifferently, in the law system. They didn't charge this man with a felony at all, and he assaulted this man, smacked this man, in front of everybody out there, and they did not charge this man with assault. They charged him with a misdemeanor. You know what I mean? So those are just simple things that, we should point out every time we get a chance, and this just should stay on the mindsets of our people, when we encounter, the police, so you have to do your due diligence, and you have to know how to, maneuver around the police, because when they pull you over, they're looking to, find a reason to be able to, put charges on you, or pull you up out of that car. Let's talk about the situation that happened with the young man not too long ago in Cincinnati when he got the window busted out. They sucker punched him, beat him down, and that was justified. You know what I mean? Imagine if some black cops did that to a white woman. What would happen to those guys? And you got to ask yourself that question too. Why don't you see black cops in white areas pulling over or shooting or killing white citizens? Because they know what would happen. They would be charged that same day, fired, and charges will be put on them, but it's different when it comes to our counterparts. They patrol our neighborhoods, they're out there, looking, to escalate situations versus de-escalating, and it's almost like the police actually forgot what they're out there for. They're out there to protect and serve. It almost seemed like they're out there being what's the word that I'm looking for? That they're out there being being the motherfucking thugs, and that's what's really been going on, in certain neighborhoods. You know what I mean? And it's been going on, for a long time, the injustice. So, I just want to talk about this for a little bit. Like I said, William Werner made a comment. Numb digger need to meet Casa Nostra. See, and that's probably show your face, show who you are, and that's probably one of the people that we're talking about. He want to put don't hide your words, speak your mind. He said numb digger. But yeah, I'm speaking the truth. It's the truth. And people like William Warner, probably is not his real name. This is why he made comments like that. Because the truth hurts. It's a big difference. And you saw it in the video that I played with the actual police officer who actually said that these are the things that they do. These are the things that they look for when they go out on the streets and they encounter blacks. They do not do the same thing when they're dealing with their own people. And these are the things that our people have to need to understand and learn. And we'll be able to, maneuver around, a lot of these killings and these shootings and these beatings, you know what I mean? Because they try to escalate, put you in a situation where, where they escalate the situation, and then you find yourself either dead or in jail. But yeah, William Warner gonna put numb digger, which I understood what you were saying. But yeah, don't be a coward, show who you is. Come on in. I'll send you a link if you want to show your face. Yeah. But yeah, man, I wanted to have a great conversation with a lot of people that I sent links out to. I guess it's a busy day for people, so I'm going to go ahead and close out. I just want to talk about this for a little bit, and then, like I said, I was just doing a little bit of my testing on this new software that I've been using. So hopefully everything turned out good. Hopefully my audio was pretty fine. Hopefully you was able to hear the little music and stuff in the background. So I'm just trying to offer, add a few more things to the podcast that I have not been able to do. But yeah, like I said, leave your comment in the comment section. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel grow. But give me your opinion, your thoughts on your indifferences when you've encountered the police. And I'll just give you one situation, on how, they treat our people differently. And I've done plenty of shows on this. Just think about the young lady who was kind of going through a mental situation, and she ended up calling the police because she thought she heard intruders trying to break in the house. And this was the young black woman who had the pot of boiling water, on the stove. And when the officers came in, they asked her to remove the pot of boiling water off the stove, and I believe she went to pick the pot up, and I think she had said something like, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," and one of the officers said, "I will shoot you in the head if you don't put that pot down." And she ducked down, because they pulled the firearm out, shot her in the head, and they was justified for doing this, because they said that this woman that they feared for their life. You know what I mean? So those are the injustice that I'm talking about, because if it was the other way around, if it was two black officers that came in there and shot, a white woman in her head, those officers would have been fired and charged that day. You know what I mean? Same situation with the young man in Cincinnati, who jumped out of the car and ran for his life and was shot in the back. What do you think would happen if those were white boys who did that and jumped out of cars and ran and were shot in the back by black officers? It would be a civil outrage, amongst whites, with situations like that. If you had black officers going around murdering and being justified for murdering whites, they would rewrite these laws in a heartbeat. These laws that we encounter, were set up for, you know, I'm not going to say the entrapment, but most of these laws were set up to, you know, for us, you know, and sometimes we fall into these traps. You know, sometimes we put ourselves in difficult situations where, you know, we're encountering law enforcement, you know, and it's just so many laws that they have out that, you know, that can keep us trapped or just put us in situations that we would never be in if they would have, you know, certain laws that, you know, that pretty much goes after us, you know. But I'm not going to hold you guys up any longer. I just wanted to come in. Like I said, I was using a new software. I wanted to see how that was going to work out. So I'm going to go ahead and end the show. I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. You know, let me know what you think about the show, the conversation, and leave your comments and your thoughts down low in the comment section. It's your boy, Dan D, and I am out. Peace.